we can't do anything.
That street rules flag football is no joke, man.
It's not, man.
Hell no.
But I want to know about, so tell me about rugby down in Argentina.
Yeah, that's cool.
So rugby was great. And so, I knew I wanted to go to a Spanish-speaking country, wanted to absorb the language, wanted to kind of absorb the culture, and had an opportunity to go to Fiji, had an opportunity to go to Wales, but, I didn't think I would get as much of a culturally enriching experience. And so found out that Buenos Aires, Argentina, had a plethora of high-level rugby clubs, and by a random twist of fate, I was actually coming back from university one day and saw this kid with a rugby bag, and was on a city bus, decided not to go home, but to follow him for about 45 minutes, not knowing where the hell it was going to be.
This is when you were in Argentina?
When I was in Argentina, not really speaking the language, I could basically, hola, ¿qué tal? Could ask for a cerveza and maybe figure out where the bathroom was. That was like my earliest.
I feel like that's all you have to know, though. Like everybody knows you're gonna have a good time with you then.
Of course. Eventually, kind of by trial by fire, and through rugby, I got to learn the language, at a high level. But before that, I really didn't have much experience, aside from a few Spanish classes here and there in high school. But followed this guy for about 45 minutes. Finally, he gets dropped off at the gates of Club Ciudad de Buenos Aires, which is one of the more prominent rugby clubs in Argentina. And I basically follow him in from a distance, introduce myself to the security at the front, tell him I'm looking to try out for the rugby team. And that was kind of it. I had like a week and a half, 2 week intensive tryout process, and made the team, and the rest was history. Got a awesome opportunity to play at a high level and really elevate my rugby game.
I was gonna say, was the language barrier super hard playing at first?
It was, yeah, it definitely was. Like it's one thing to have basic conversation; it's another to have like 15 guys
tactics
fucking screaming at you in Spanish, and you're the sole gringo on the team who's trying to figure out the intensities and the nuances of which they play the sport, and then B, figure out what the hell they're saying to you while you're doing so. So it was a little difficult. I had a great friend, Sebastioni, who's now a captain in the U.S. Army, actually the Argentinian Army, I should say, and he was kind of my translator. He was a really just like super affable, friendly dude who was like, all right, man, I know you're coming here. You could add value to the team. You don't know Spanish, so I'm going to be your go-to point of translation. And at that point, it was myself. I was the only real foreigner that was on the team, and so, it was a tough transition. It wasn't an easy transition. There was some hazing involved. There was some, some shit talking, and
it's like joining a frat.
It exactly was, and guys definitely tested me. They kind of tried to break me down a little bit and see if I could get a reaction. And, I passed all those tests, and they eventually accepted me, like a brother. And
I was going to say, after your father,
with
the martial arts stuff,
exactly. And, I remember one of the first experiences we had won like the playoffs, right, or the spot to get into the playoffs, and it hadn't happened in a few years. And it was a celebratory experience, but that night they decided to give me my initiation, and basically it consisted of probably about 20 bottles of vodka mixed up in this like witch's cauldron with like 2 pounds of sugar and lemon and limes, fresh squeezed. And we had to make this poison or this devil nectar ourselves and then proceed to drink it. And drink it to the point of absolute inebriation, got held down. And then the rest of the team, and we had about 75, 80 guys on the team, all lined up and took turns. One guy would grab the base of the hair. The other guy would take a swipe at the hair with a steak knife, or cuchilla de bistec, and proceeded to give us this like Helen Keller meets freaking Edward Scissorhand like haircut, to the point where I had cuts in my head. I had like this kind of like inverse mohawk where I had a huge like bald strip down the center of my head, and then I had these like big friar tuck like pieces of hair billowing from the sides, and they beat us up pretty good. We were getting like rib shots, and I probably got hit by everyone on the team at least 4 or 5 times, and that was it. They were like, all right, you guys passed the initiation, but here's the caveat. Like, it ain't over today. It ain't over next week. You guys have to keep these haircuts for about a week and a half. So the worst part was like the psychological torture as you're walking down the streets of Buenos Aires, Argentina, in a foreign country, not speaking the language, just trying to immerse yourself and plug into the culture. And people are literally running for the hills when they see you walking down the street, man. Like the shocks and horror upon the faces of the people that I walk past in the streets, like still haunts me to this day. Women would see their kids like walking towards me, like grab them and pull them into a store. It was hard to get taxis. Like I had a few taxi drivers just straight up drive past me even though they were vacant. So it was a pretty testing, trying experience, but it was great. You know, I took it in stride, and you know, after I kind of survived that little hazing ritual, you know, again that fraternal bond became stronger. So it was awesome.
So now, was this a club where I guess worldwide higher level rugby players wanted to come to?
Yeah, so
or you just
we had.
happened
I was the sole American, and then we had two guys from like Stade Français, which is the top rugby club in France. They came over to play. We had a few guys that were on the national team, and we played against quite a few guys that were on the Argentinian national team. The sport isn't well funded in Argentina. You know, their economy, unfortunately, you know, has kind of taken a turn for the worst. You know, when I was down there, it was about 8 pesos to every $1 US. And now the current exchange rate is 57 pesos to $1 US. And so, fortunately, because of their very socialistic government structure and the corruption, their economy is shot. And it saddens me because I love that country. I've got great friends who are brothers who live there and you know, are now suffering through, you know, this economic hardship. But it's a beautiful place. I mean, it is amazing, rich, vibrant culture. Best steak in the world. I mean, it's hands down some of the best red meat you're ever going to find. Everything's free range. The red wine, you know, and their more notable Argentinian Malbec is, in my opinion, one of the best red wines you could drink. And just the way that the people live with such a love and passion for life is something that really, you know, changed me for the better. So